Test, test. Yeah. Right on. Test, test. No. Testing. Sort of. Very low. Test, test, test.
John's been busy. John's been busy. Yeah, and Sonia, you guys, if I could give you a bonus, I would. Sonia, initially I'm impressed. I'm very impressed initially. I'm impressed, yes. The reason I say that is, yes, I mean, you really dug into it, and you really turned over some stuff. And you and John, you guys ought to be commended. We got to give you a little commendation for getting this one done. Next year ought to be a super easy one when they reinstate the property tax. Won't be as difficult, no. Hey.
Okay. Everybody ready to start? Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting for the budget workshop. And with that, I guess we turn it over to John.
Try to lay the groundwork. Happen tonight and for the next couple of weeks. Last week at the board meeting, thought we had identified area 7 as where we to you, and that was all based on what assumed was that the state was going to hit the pause button on our Senate, and then it went over to the House. House voted on it first reading, they passed it. Committee. Confident telling you last week that backup plan, the primary plan, packet, a budget, valuation numbers that essentially what the budget looks like is what we've got.
Thanks.
Some capital budget request. Circumstances changing. Two numbers. For our public hearing as scheduled on June the 9th. I have to have. After that, the law is very clear as far as what you, after you have the public hearing. Plan B, you don't have to have another public hearing. That's the bigger one, but a more permanent solution. The way we go, I think my presentation, 7 on how we design. Session, area 4 into a confident that House will. retirement system is model.
John, I got a quick question. That league 10% rate increase, is that due to the skateboard park settlements, do you think? Or is that just across the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
That it's across the board 10%, but some may be more due to their.
Sorry to interrupt.
Budget. $4,000. No transfer. Capital outlay is not all cash. One penny on the tax rate using the old valuation. $1,539,000. Does include 102,000. 4,000 of.
So, projected revenues, and your expenditures for deficit, projected deficit of 200. So if you remember or recall, the fund balance of 700. And throughout the year, we did total of throughout the year 913,000. I'm projecting $5,500 of that. Leaves us where not being expended back to fund balance. That number is and we're gonna, 7, we're proposing snapshot of your projected calculated it. Pretty much gonna stay the same. Dollars, which is 55%. Still above the 50%. This is the projection. I mean,
But we only have a couple of weeks left.
we only have, right. So, probably pretty close.
Which is better than, but percentage-wise, it's not better probably than some, but dollar-wise, it's.
Hello? All right, so in this scenario, municipal top line, home proceeds or grant. Capital improvement plan set aside. Of what was current, what I had,
Just put it up there. You got more cord. Yep.
okay. Woo! Hello? Okay.
There we go.
You good? Okay. So, all right, so back to the capital improvement plan set aside. Wait. We did $75,000 in the fire department, $11,500 for one police vehicle set aside, and then the public works for vehicle and equipment replacement, which that's not a lot of money, but we tried. And then obviously the stormwater is part of the public works. It's just, I have it separated because it does come out of a different fund. So we did half of what was originally requested, except for Parks and Rec. I didn't put anything in for Parks and Rec that she had in there. Sorry. Ann. All right, and then here's your stormwater enterprise fund. Nothing's changed here. It's the same since the first workshop we had. And then this hasn't changed. The solid waste enterprise fund has not changed. And we did talk about we needed to do an increase since the last increase was back in 1819. And basically, you know, with the budget that was submitted, it just didn't justify to increase, but now it's there. So that's the reason why, if anybody wants to know why we didn't increase it prior to now, but it's because when the department head had submitted their budget, it just didn't justify an increase. But we're here now, and that it definitely needs it. And then I will, want to do that scenario? You don't need it.
So Sonia reviewed how she got to that point of balancing the budget using the old valuation numbers, using it from $723,000 of capital outlay to $226,000, and from $238,000 of capital set aside down to $102,000. Got that? The summary of how she did that's on page 2 and 3 of your cover memo to this workshop agenda. If you want to get into the detail, what items were removed to get us down to those levels. And of course, we did remove the land use plan was also taken out. All right, so going back to scenario 4, which I think is where we're going to land. You see the tax rate on the side at various levels of the tax rate, 26.28 being revenue neutral from today's tax rate of 35 cents. These numbers might change a little bit. Sanjay told me today the also county gave for a new valuation number. If we did use the new numbers, it was a $1,009,000,000. Now it's $1,001,000,000. So where that $8 million reduction came, we don't know. She's going to investigate with Kevin Turner to see what changed in their figures to drop it in Swansboro $8 million since they gave us those figures a couple months ago. So at 26.28, based on that scenario, what you see right there with 1 firefighter, 1 police officer, capital outlay, capital improvement plan, and land use plan, at revenue neutral, it would take $1,119,516 of fund balance to balance the budget, and that's how it works through that schedule there. 31 at 652, all the way down to 35 cents if left it where it is. We still have to use $256,034 to balance the budget. I like the method we used to get in that last plan of $226,000 for capital outlay and $102,000 for transferring to capital improvement. If you plug those numbers into scenario 4, I honestly believe we can balance the budget using zero fund balance appropriated, still add the firefighter and the police officer, and not do the $100,000 for the land use plan. I know we could balance the budget without any fund balance appropriated.
They take the land use plan off?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. We still don't know.
It's okay.
So Rebecca's.
Well, unfortunately, I think the timing, we do probably need to look at next year. Probably wouldn't be a good year to do it. The Marine Corps is taking Rebecca's family to Texas in July. So she's going to be leaving us at the end of July. And so I think the leadership and planning would be important to have there if you're going to do your land use plan update. Don't feel comfortable with that being the first thing we do with a new planning director. But yep, come July 31st, that'll be her last day with Swansboro, unfortunately.
This year?
This year.
No.
Yeah, I think Chris is he is being transferred, new orders to Texas.
Gotta go.
So real quick on the land use plan, you don't think it'd be a good idea to maybe put 10 or 20,000 where we set it up every year? instead of a one-time deal.
You could add
Yes.
more to capital reserve for that specific project, sure. Do a set aside.
We're not taking a big change out at the end of the, whenever it's time to do it or whatever. That's just my thought.
Yeah, 25,000. Same thing. Yeah, I mean, same thought process. I mean, I think it's worth scrutinizing, I'm just throwing out a number, $25,000 aside for land use plan. So when we do update it, it doesn't come out all in 1 year, one cycle. I think that might be a smart way of looking at it.
Just remember, if it goes into the capital reserve, cannot come back out for operational. It has to be a capital project. It could be you guys can do anything with it as long as it's capital. Can't bring it back out and say, oh, we're not doing
So it
land
could
use.
go from a fire truck to a police vehicle, for example.
Yeah, you can earmark it for the land use, put it in there, but then if you're not gonna do a land use, then it's set aside for capital. So you can use it for whatever as long as it's capital. I just wanna make sure y'all are aware of that.
Any questions on how that table that flows? Our suggestions for using the new capital outlay, capital reserve plan, and deleting the land use plans. Everyone comfortable with that?
So John, just to recap then, you'd be proposing the capital outlay would be 226,000. Capital improvement plan, 102,752. Land use plan would be 0, but potentially move 20K over to the.
We may be able to move a little bit more to capital improvement. Let us work. Because if we remove that 100, I think we're probably going to add a little bit more to capital, a little more than 102. If we use 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're probably going to get to it, but my only question would be is the tax rate then? I mean, what are people thinking for the tax rate in this scenario?
Sure. If you change the tax rate, then obviously you see what the effect is going to be, kind of based on those.
Sure.
You won't appropriate as much using those lower capital outlay numbers and CIP numbers, but you'll still probably appropriate some balance.
I think the talk with John and Sonia earlier, if scenario 4, best thing to set us up for success not only this year but next year, be for this year leave it at 35 cents.
That's kind of my train of thinking too, keeping the tax rate like it is. I'd like to give a decrease if we could, but it's so uncertain out there. I mean, suppose we do the budget with the 35% tax rate, and they come back and use the new reval, and we have all this, you can't go back and lower the tax rate at a later date. Once the budget's done, it's done with the tax rate.
Once you adopt the ordinance with your tax rate, it's set for the year. There's a couple extenuating, but you wouldn't meet those standards.
Yeah. Plus, I think we'd be set up better next year.
A bigger one.
After this year and we get through more likely.
What she guys thoughts? I mean, I'd like to see a tax decrease, but things are so uncertain.
But I think this scenario is built on the certainty that the revow is put in place, right? And the other course of action is built on status quo.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I mean, I came in thinking before they started everything in April, I thought some type of tax reduction would be appropriate. I mean, off the top of my head, I was thinking like going down to 33 cents. I thought that was something that was sustainable. Hearing from a couple of the county commissioners that they were looking at potentially an 8-cent reduction. I was thinking then our residents would have a 10-cent reduction across the board, and that would be something that would help them with this revow, which everyone I think is recognizing is very significant.
Looks like it's gonna happen. I mean, what's your feelings on the, I know it's like looking into a crystal ball and trying to figure it out, but from talking with the county people and with, the city of Jacksonville, it seems like they're going with the new reval. And if, I mean, I hate to do that at our budget, but golly, if everybody else, I mean, it seems like they're confident for some, I wonder where they get that level of confidence. Do you think it's because their budgets are larger?
Probably. The complexity, with a $60 million budget is a little bit
Versus ours, yeah.
different than ours. Yeah.
If I may then, not to put you on the spot, Sonia, what are your thoughts?
That's what this is all about.
So let me say something real quick. If we did stay at the 35 cents, and obviously, because we don't know, we get in a tight predicament, is we see that we're going to have a plus up of money if we stay at 35 without doing the 2-cent reduction. Could we do something like suspend the stormwater? Or obviously, it would take more people to do that, where we can show the people that we're trying to put money back in their pockets. Or is it that much of a difference? Just thinking, on that, so.
Okay, I would, can I go ahead? Okay. My recommendation is to not go below 33 cents. However, you all can, but I wouldn't go below 33%. I think that's going to, there's a lot of things we have to look into. One is we have not funded the capital improvement plan in 3 years. We've got debt coming up that's going to be $300,000 more. I know some drop, but we're going to add some for quite a few years. I don't know if y'all get the North Carolina League of Municipality, but their survey for the merits and COLAs are out there. That's another thing to look at. You want to retain people. Just saying, these are just some of the things that I look at that I think it's going to affect us down the road.
But
That's just my
33 is pretty comfortable.
I would not go below 33. I still think we may struggle a little bit. I don't know.
And I'm kind of like Wayne, I was thinking of a 2% tax cut too.
I have a relevant question, and that is, what is your performance as our financial officer in Swansboro for the past 3 years at least? You've done some estimates for us, right? And what's been you traditionally have come in plus $200 and something thousand every year. Can you verify, validate those numbers? Would you come in 2024, 2023, and 2025 when you give us initial estimates on revenue, and then what we actually came in revenue?
It was probably 23, 24, wasn't it? I think that's when it started changing. I don't know. I have to look at my numbers.
Yeah.
I don't have that in front of me, but.
I've been following a little bit, and that's like, you've come in at least $200 and something thousand under on your estimate.
That's
and
right.
we've reaped in about 230,000, I think has been the average.
I think this is,
And so you would agree with that?
Yeah.
So that should give the board some comfort in how you do the numbers and how it was projected and what's
Yeah.
actually come true.
now I am a little conservative. I will say that. Now, I will also tell you that the sales tax distribution it's flat. The last couple months has been flat. So that's a little, it was 140,000 a month. Now it's 111 a month. So that's a little scary. But
And that's
And
25%
that's
of our
our
budget,
number
right?
2
Yeah.
revenue source. So I don't know. There's just a lot to go into this. But I would definitely not recommend lower than 33.
How do you feel about 33? Do you think would you keep it at 35 if you had your preference? Put you on the spot even more.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Well, of course she wants 35 then.
No, I mean,
The overall
revaluation,
rate's 3%.
it's
pretty much.
that one time you have an opportunity to reset things. It's difficult. In later years, you have, good opportunity here. There's a lot of things that we're behind on. We got some things coming, as far as, keeping up with, with salaries in the market. A lot of equipment needs, we have some pretty heavy debt service coming up with fire trucks we need to be aware of in the near future. If you're going to add personnel costs stick with you forever. Debt service is short term, 5 or 10 years, and it goes away. You change that. But personnel tends to stick with you for a long time. I'm not saying that they're not needed, they definitely are. We can make 33 certainly work. I mean, we traditionally appropriate fund balance anyway to balance the budget. It's not like I can't remember if we've ever done a zero. Not since not with me. But again, Sonia she's conservative, and I think we tend to, like you said, Doug, come out in the positive with her conservative estimation. I prefer that, and then to aim high and come back later and say, oh, so we missed that one on the wrong end. But she does a really good job there. I think with, if you went 33, we could make some changes in the capital outlay. We could get really close. I don't think we'd balance it with no fund balance appropriate. It would be close. But I think that would be good for Swansboro to get us positioned so that we can be prepared to do some things. Going back to your question on stormwater, that being an enterprise fund, it needs to be solely self-funded with user fees. I would be concerned that if we did suspend it, there's not a whole lot of fund balance in that account. We do have some debt service, salaries that come out of that to fund projects, and that, of course, we wouldn't be able to fund any stormwater projects. And here, that's really important. With the new public service director coming, who is strong in the stormwater side, I feel like he's going to identify some needs for us as far as some good stormwater projects. But I would be leery of suspending that. I would rather go down to 33 cents than to suspend stormwater.
Man,
Not
Well-
on, sorry.
as,
If I'm looking at this right, please correct me if I'm wrong, but basically it comes down to when you're starting there at, well, actually for all of them, the exception of revenue neutral, it comes down to about $100,000 per penny.
well, if you look at the performance index, I think the board is safe going anywhere from 33 to 35 on this scale. What I mean by that is based on your performance, based on how your historical pattern of life, and how we do the budget, how we manage the funds. The board just needs to determine whether it's going to be 33, 34, 35. That's what it's worth. And the historical facts bear that one out.
Let me just throw something I wrench into. So we've got a lot of things like personnel that aren't funded. And if we had 35 cents, it might be that we could fund some of the additional personnel, some of the additional equipment, possibly.
Yeah, you've got 2 new positions funded.
Yeah, but they wanted 3 each.
But 3 and 2,
Take the vote.
and one
each.
Parks and Rec.
But you got Anna sitting over there.
Or
Party
I mean, to Doug's point, I mean, Sonia, what would you say is the biggest risk if you went with 33 cents? Well, I mean, we don't want to chase the tax rate, obviously, over the next couple of years. The next reval is going to be in 4 years. I mean, my mentality, honestly, was thinking that, you know, when you set this tax rate, it's the tax rate that we could live with to the next reval. I mean, that's off the top of my head. And I mean, others, please, if you disagree, please, or what have you. I just, that's why I don't think it should go any lower than 33 cents. But,
Well, I mean, there's the cost, everything is going up. Everything's costing more money today.
oh,
Look
it's
at
like
your
we talked
gas.
about Hurricane Florence recovery. I mean, you shared with me it was $843,000. When I plugged that in a CPI calculator, that's $1.1 million today
Right.
if we had a similar event.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I really, truly, there's just a lot to put together to
Well, our
try to
sales tax,
explain. I mean, I don't, again, I mean, I know that we have a lot of public works equipment that needs to be purchased, replaced. I mean, there's fixed. I mean, I don't know, I mean, with the price, I mean, just the HVAC systems in the last week. We've got a ton of HVAC systems that are out, not working. And it's not $100, it's not $200, it's $3,000, it's $4,000 just to repair them. Not a replace, it's a repair.
and that's probably why our sales tax is down. People just don't have the money to spend, and which sales tax isn't a big part, but I mean, you
But
think
that tells
30,000
you-
a month is
But that
pretty
still tells
substantial.
you that
Yeah.
I think it's coming to a halt.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't spending a lot with the gas prices up
Yeah.
and, you know, and they say the price of gas is gonna go up even more in July.
It's gonna stay
Right, like you
pretty
said, I trust
much.
Yeah,
So
No.
Sonia,
yeah.
So Tamara, let's kind of bring it back in. We're all kind of got our
So-
sidebars going.
so if we went to 33 and we look at next year or the year after, would that gives, because looking at not changing, like Wayne said, you know, looking for the next 4 years, do you think the capability of hiring his next police officer and his 2 firemen would be capable of doing that? Or
With thir-
and the
with
Parks and
33
Recs?
cents?
Yes.
No, I mean, yes and no, because you gotta think, you're gonna increase the salaries, the benefits, then you got to a vehicle and repair, or, uniforms, and there's a lot that goes with that. Insurance, yeah, all of it. It's just
But the way things are going right now, we went to
Yeah.
33. There's no way that we could look
and again,
forward to that.
what's really worrisome to me is that when you have the North Carolina League of Municipalities, I'm not trying to bring this back to y'all, but again, merits and COLAs are way up there.
Well, and our COLA's not very
And we're
much.
already behind again. We're already behind, even though doing that. I mean, I'm sure that Dwayne and Jacob can attest to that. The salaries for public safety is out, I mean, it's crazy, and you will not be able to retain these individuals. And that's where that's what I worry about.
Well, our 1.5% COLA, I mean, most of them are at least 3, aren't they? So we're cut the budget
think-
to the bone with that, and, yeah, I know you're doing what we have to do, and you have to do what we have to work with, but that kind of concerns me a little bit, just that cost
Same.
of living, you know.
And that's what worries me too. I don't know, I hear it, you hear
And you
it,
see it, I
and
mean,
you see it, and
every
you just
day.
don't want to, they're a big asset, your employees are your asset. So I just feel like that's gonna be a problem.
Well, and then at 33, how much training are we gonna be able to do? Probably none.
I mean, that's the other thing too,
And I'm not fighting going down to 33. I'm just trying to lay it all out there to think about. I mean, there's a lot going on. And I would love to go to 33. That's my thought, but we have to stay at 35. I certainly don't have a problem with that either. I just don't know how, that's not my decision, it's y'all's decision. Cameron, what?
But, right, but, yeah, but you're still cutting things. You're still cutting to get there, though. You're still cutting to get there. That's the thing.
So this is kind of budget related too, not really, but kind of. I got an email today, GoEd's back up and running. They got a new director June 6th. So there's, who knows what may come of that, but it's just a thought. And it's not, it is budget related, but it's not budget related.
I know this, over the past few weeks and stuff, my thought has been 33%, but after discussion, I think 35% is the only way we can go as a town to operate and keep our employees.
I hate it.
Look forward to next year, what we can do, and the year after. Obviously, it's not what people want to hear, but we do see a lot of municipalities getting in trouble right now.
Oh, yeah.
They
Right.
can't do things.
Beaufort overspent $97,000 on some project. I'm not sure what it was. John's son's gonna keep them in line.
I personally think we should stay at 35%. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 33 would be the popular thing to do in town, but is it the prudent thing to do?
Yeah, you're assuming a little bit of risk, that's all. John, you want to leave it better than you found it, I take it, right?
We're just still discussing.
You want to leave this,
really hard.
you want to leave this place better than you found
Either
it.
way, y'all.
All right? And I think we're making strides in that direction. What you're asking us to do
No, we just
is
need
to
give them
continue
guidance.
that improvement, the improvements that you felt needed when you arrived. And what you're asking us is, we need this 35 cents to continue improving your
I
department.
think you'd make a big step forward to those improvements with 35.
Sorry. We're having a sidebar.
And that's
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
John, if I may, that's 35 with those reduced numbers you talked about for capital outlay, capital improvement, and the land use plan removed. So I mean, that shortfall basically disappears, right? Yeah.
We can make it zero.
Well, even at 35, we're still 256,000.
No, you're exactly right.
Right?
Exactly right.
No,
Huh?
take away.
Oh, yes, right.
So,
Yeah, so what's the general thought? 35? Or, we don't need to do a motion or anything. We just
No,
need to give you guidance.
we're just looking for the guidance from you so we can build it from
It's
there.
simple then. It's 35 either way then, huh? Whether they enact legislation or don't.
Sounds like
enact.
35.
Yeah, we just give direction.
That's
is
what
all
we're
we
looking
need
for.
to do. So what's your all's thoughts?
camera? 35?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody. I think it was definitely worth looking at reducing the tax rate like everyone
I would love
discussed.
to.
I mean, I get it because I know we're going to see increases. I'm going to the NWASA budget meeting Thursday night, and I'm anticipating, I think, a total stormwater and your water, or your wastewater and your water. I think it's going to be close to 10% increase with the two.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
You know, and I know we've already heard about the increases with Duke Power and Jones Onslow and so forth. It's just a rough year, for lack of better words. But, yeah, I'm on board with 35 cents.
Okay.
Well, it
The,
sounds like 35, I mean.
let me just say this. I'm going to speak now for, I guess, everybody that's not in the audience tonight, and that is, the legislature just gave you a tax break for this year. But most likely, it's not going to be there next year. So next year, when the property values are increased, actually, in the assessments, then that board is going to sit and do this again from January to June. That was most of us here, because I don't think it's election year. We're going to be presented now with a great revenue windfall. And you better believe we're going to come looking for what? Relief. Okay? So can you guys, those words I would hope were going to come true. But you guys will be poised because you'll be able to do your training, you'll have your equipment, and it's a little hiccup along the way, you might say. But next year, I think we're presented with an opportunity. Would you all agree or disagree with that as a board? I don't know. You look into the future here. Let's provide the legislature doesn't do something crazy, like set a statewide municipal tax rate.
Yeah, the 1086 would be the constitutional amendment would be statewide. Now, the 889 is only applying to those counties that did revaluation for 26, and there's only, I think, 12, was it 9?
Yeah, we could probably look for some type of referendum on the ballot this year, didn't they say?
That's what 1086 is proposing, a November constitutional amendment on the ballot.
But leave it up to the public.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so I guess that's, anybody else have any more comments, concerns, or discussion? Anybody on that side of the table over there?
We will prepare a budget over the next week based on 35 cents and have it ready by the 29th for public inspection, and plan scenario 4, plan on the public hearing on the 9th on that model, assuming nothing changes. That we're assuming we're going to use the new valuation numbers.
Okay, so I guess we're at the point where we can
Yeah.
have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're adjourned. And thanks, everybody. It's a tough thing to do. Yeah. Yeah, I thought we'd be here a couple hours.